This is our Valhalla, a 34-foot Aloha. It's our fourth summer with this boat. We've done a lot of work to make her ready to go cruising. There were some issues we needed to address before we could do this. We made this video to show what we did and possibly give other people some ideas for their boats.
It's now called Valhalla, and that's Ragnar. He's our sailing dog. So since we bought this boat, you can see we have new lifelines. We replaced all the lifelines. They were very, very, very old and, well, they were ruined. They were missing in some parts. It was just rope.
These are the lifelines that we took off of the boat. In some places the lifelines didn't even exist and the previous owner just tied pieces of rope in place of the lifeline.
There's the new logo. We actually put that on when it was still in the boatyard in Hamilton. We've also installed davits. We didn't have dinghy davits when we bought it. We now have davits. We'll show you that later with the davits, with the dinghy and the davits. These are our new dinghy davits holding our dinghy. They work great. I'm so happy that we have them.
We installed 300 watts of solar to the top of our bimini. The solar panels are flexible and they're just tied on. We found with our old boat that this worked the best, so we did the same thing again on this boat.
We installed a new windlass, which it came with the boat, but it just wasn't installed. So
to do this, we first had to remove the entire hatch over the ankle locker from the boat. Then we built a base on the hatch for the manual windlass. This meant it was time to learn how to gel coat. We had lots of experience with epoxy and fiberglass already, so it all went well. The hatch is now removable. There are 2 L brackets glassed in underneath here to hold the hatch in place with a special latch. The underside of the hatch is reinforced with 1 3/4 inches of balsa core for strength. Because of the way we have it set up, the chain falls directly down into the locker as it should. We removed the exhaust pipe that was here above the head and installed a solar vent instead. We had to re-core inside of the Dorad vent boxes, which is a very common problem on the Alohas. Once we did that, David made the teak tops to go on top, which we can remove if necessary. At the same time, we also rebed all of our stanchions by re-drilling all the holes for the bolts in the stanchion beds and filling them with epoxy before we rebed with butyl tape. Another new addition on the boat was this self-tailing winch that we put on the mast to pull up the main. In the past, we've always pulled up the main from the cockpit, but we have found it much easier to do it from the mast. When we bought the boat, it came with a new knot meter, depth sounder, and wind speed indicator.
the auto helmet was on here. It worked, but it didn't work well. It was older, so we replaced it with the new Raymarine auto. Our main sheet was in a very awkward position before, where you would pull the line straight up to move the main sheet, so we moved it. So now it comes back here through a block and then the stopper, and you can control it from the wheel. Same thing on the other side, obviously.
David made this teak trim to finish off the cubby hole.
Dodger, bimini, and enclosure came with the boat. The Dodger has the zipped windshield that zips in. You can zip it out. I made a screen that zips in for when we're at anchor, because the wind is coming off your bow, so the wind comes back into the boat with the screen. I'll show that later. When we bought the boat, it came with this full enclosure, which we just love. All the plastic zips down, and attached to the front now, that you didn't see before, but we have attached now, in the front of the Dodger is the screen as opposed to the plastic that I made right after we bought the boat. This is inside the boat with our full enclosure on. And if you noticed before, the cushions that were on were a light gray vinyl, which is what we usually use because we find the material, it's pretty, not very practical in everyday use, you know, when you're going in and out of the boat and it's raining. This table, we needed more table than what we had rather than just the regular teak cockpit table. This does flip out and everything, but doesn't have a whole lot of room for, like, even 4 people. That table's a bit tight, but by adding this table, we add so much space for when people are on the boat for entertaining. One day when we were cleaning out the boat after we bought it, we found this shade screen that zips onto the bimini and connector piece when you have it installed to use for the shade, and it is soon wonderful. After we bought the boat, I made this companionway screen for the bugs when you're sailing and everything, and this is how you zip it up to go in and out it. Can you zip it back up again? Just to show how easy it is. We have the original roller furling on this boat, and we are going to change it eventually, but just haven't done that yet. This winch for the roller furling used to be mounted right on the deck. Well, when you mounted it on the deck and turned the handle hit this lifeline. So we raised it up by about 1.25 inches there, so that's no longer an issue. I actually don't know how they did it before. It must have really been a pain. The lazarette in this boat is massive. But when we first got the boat, it was just one big cavern. All the ropes, everything was just thrown in there. So we moved the water tank, which was originally right over here on the side, so it took up a lot of space. We moved it right back there and mounted it. We put these hooks on the side to hold all our lines, and they're on each side. It makes it much easier to get the lines, and built this shelf that is removable. So now we have a place to put stuff, and there's hooks on the bottom of that. Put a floor into the bottom of this cavern so you can stand in here now without sliding, and built this removable wall to keep things from falling into the engine compartment. Just a few photos of the interior of our beautiful Aloha. Here is the galley with the 3-burner stove and oven, which is gimbaled. The fridge freezer in the back corner, very, very large, lots of storage. There's the control panel, which also holds our solar controllers. We moved our radio, our VHF radio over there. Lots of storage space to put bins on all the shelves, and a beautiful cane doors in front of all those storage places. There's lots of storage also behind the cushions. And we're going back here into... Moving along in the salon area, there are 2 water tanks, one under each side of the benches in the salon. Each tank is 30 liters. It works out very well when we're going away. Moving forward, we're going into the V-berth. The widest part of the V-berth is the size of a king-size bed. I know this because it was something I had to measure to make sure it would fit. There's lots of storage for all our clothing with the closets, the cupboards at the sides. To the left is our head. It is a wet head. It's very roomy. We don't use it as a wet head though, because, I don't know, we find it hard on the wood. We have a cockpit shower instead. Now we're moving forward back towards the galley in the boat and moving over towards the chart table, which I will explain some stuff that we did with that shortly. And as you can see, we have a lot of opening ports on this boat. There's 10 of them and 2 hatches in the cabin top.
Just another look at the stove and the fridge freezer area, which is large, as you'll see. And then over to the right of the stove is a small storage compartment. I just store utility stuff in that area. This is the garbage bin, which is very, very handy. And this is a storage compartment under the sink that David built a sliding door that works much better than the swinging open door that used to be there. Coming up, you will see the sink. It's under a teak cover that David made to give me more counter space when it wasn't in use. There's 3 taps at the sink. The one on the left is an AccuView UV sterilization unit that allows us to drink the water straight from our tank. The center one is just the regular tap with pressurized water, and the one on the far right, we draw water from the lake for washing dishes and stuff when we're at anchor.
Okay, this is where the AccuView unit is stored.
And our filters.
It's right there, and the charcoal filter, which is part of it, that's just for the taste, is right over there. It doesn't take up much space at all. This table folds down from the cabinet on the wall.
We put a 120 volt plug in here for the coffee maker. This leaf comes up with a leg on the other side.
If we have more people. This is how you fold it back up to put it back in position, which is how we usually keep it, so we have lots of space down here. And everything is tucked away. So this is the chart table, but for anyone who has an Aloha 34, you know that the cavity was, it was just a giant cavern, and it was a big mess, and it was kind of pointless and useless to have. We were trying to think of something we could do to use the space more efficiently for tools. This is what he came up with. He put a bottom in the chart table and now has a full extension drawer that comes out with all of the tools that we mostly use organized. The top section then slides in, and there's a bottom section with all of the tools also. It works beautifully, and I love this because I'm usually the gopher while he's fixing everything. The rest of the tools are actually in a compartment, the bigger tools, under the quarter berth.
The engine has been all redone. Moves the water intake. Installed
The water heater. I'm
water
showing
heater.
Where's the heat
thermostat.
exchanger? Where's the heat exchanger? I won't be able to see it. Okay.
4-inch, new 4-inch heat exchanger. Changed the thermostat, the cap, put in a closed system. This was a mess. Water filter for fresh water, and an intake for the water right here.
A close-up of where we have the solar controller and the main switch and all the other toggle switches on and off.
Up here with these doors is great. It's very handy, but we noticed when we were heeling, the doors kept sliding back and forth when we were actually sailing. So we installed rare earth magnets onto the cupboard doors, and now they no longer slide. The V-berth on the Aloha 34 is quite high. A lot of people complain about it. One of the things that we have done is he took the cover that's over the storage unit under the V-berth, and he made a step out of it by building these panels underneath. So we now could step on that to get into the V berth at night.
And this is the winter cover that came with our boat. It is fantastic when you're working on the boat during the spring and the fall season. Hope you enjoyed the video and happy sailing, everyone. Maybe we'll see you out there this summer in the North Channel.